bass pedals. There's Brian.
To be a pop star, I enjoy it.
The Rolling Stones have gifted the world with numerous rock and roll classics, yet few possess the lasting, mesmerizing allure of Paint It Black.
Let's introduce you stone by stone to the Rolling Stones.
Come on, this is me, my baby party, come on. I can't get started, come on.
Hello, I'm Mick Jagger.
Charlie Watt.
Who?
Charlie Watt.
Brian Jones. Keith Richards. Bill Wyman.
Seeing them get more and more popular and more people coming to see them, it was very exciting.
How do you feel when you get all these girls screaming and shouting?
It's great. Girls screaming at a concert and not for somebody else. You know, it's the same, just a measure of success, but it is great anyway. Obviously, you feel a personal pride.
Unveiled in 1966, this mysterious track, with its infusion of sitar melodies and poignant lyrics, soared to the top of the charts, standing as a timeless tribute to the band's genius. But how did a song rich in melancholy and Eastern influences come to fruition? The Rolling Stones manager and producer Andrew Loog Oldham fondly reminisced about the band's early struggles with the song Paint It Black. He recalled, "That song was hitting a dead end. Another 10 minutes, and we were ready to call it quits."
I see a red door and I want it painted black.
It was March 1966, and the Stones found themselves in RCA Studios in Los Angeles, a favored spot for their recording sessions. Teaming up with engineer Dave Hassinger, they were diligently working on their upcoming album, Aftermath.
No colors anymore, I want them to turn black.
Among the tracks slated for recording was Paint It Black, a piece crafted by Mick Jagger and Keith Richards during a tour in Australia the previous month. Keith noted, "I came up with the melody while he penned the lyrics."
I see the girls walk by dressed in their summer clothes.
However, despite their creative collaboration, the band hit a roadblock while exploring the song's potential in a new minor key. With time ticking away, they were on the verge of abandoning it altogether.
I have to turn my head until my darkness goes.
In the studio, there was a feeling of urgency, but the real focus was on crafting a new hit single. The Rolling Stones had been topping the charts since the summer of 1964, but it wasn't until a year ago, with the release of The Last Time in February 1965, that they began to gain recognition for their original Jagger and Richards compositions. They had enjoyed a streak of #1 hits, and they were determined not to break it.
This could be the last time, maybe the last time, I don't know.
However, the latest contender lacked the driving energy and rebellious attitude that had characterized earlier hits like I Can't Get No Satisfaction
Keith wrote the basics of Satisfaction. He says in Clearwater, Florida, at night time he woke up with that, with the idea of satisfaction. Can't get no satisfaction. And then it became this classic fucking track, They're going da 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 da, and I'm going doom doom da 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 da. So Brian just played the walking rhythm behind him, and it kind of worked.
and 19th Nervous Breakdown, elements that had become synonymous with the Rolling Stones. Mick Jagger once reflected on their songwriting, saying, "Our songs were adopting a certain edge in the lyrics, cynical, brash, skeptical, and sometimes rude."
You're the kind of person you meet at certain dismal dull affairs.
The lyrics and mood of their songs resonated with the disillusionment young people felt towards the adult world, particularly in America.
Sitting out the crowd talking much too loud, running up and down the stairs.
For a while, It seemed like the Rolling Stones were the voice of rebellion, tapping into societal tensions and providing the soundtrack for a generation's discontent.
And though you try, you just can't hide your eyes are edged with tears.
A game-changing idea emerged when the band found themselves with an arrangement of Paint It Black that didn't quite capture the intensity of their previous hits or the weighty themes hinted at in the lyrics. Mick Jagger remarked, "Paint It Black was supposed to be just another typical beat group number. It felt like one big joke."
I see a red door and I want it painted black.
However, during the final playback session, Bill Wyman proposed an unexpected solution. "I suggested using Hammond organ pedals," the bassist recalled. "I laid on the floor beneath the organ and started playing a second bass riff on the pedals using my fists at double the speed."
Bass pedals.
This decision not only added depth to the song's sound as Wyman intended, but also completely shifted its trajectory. By introducing hints of Turkish music unintentionally, Wyman steered the song into a much more exotic realm than the Stones had initially envisioned.
I look inside myself and see my heart is black.
Andrew Lug Oldham, feeling exhilarated, thought, "That's it. I've heard the sound and movement we've been searching for. The playful charm that screams,
It's not easy facing up when your whole world is black.
In a curious musical twist, guitarist Brian Jones was ready to add some extra flair, but not with his usual 6 strings. According to Keith Richards, Brian had pretty much moved on from the guitar by then. If there was another instrument lying around, he'd try to coax some sound out of it, just because it was there.
I see a line across black.
Brian found himself caught in a power struggle with his fellow songwriters, Mick and Keith.
Say hi to Brian. Brian is one of the writers of most of the things, right?
No, I'm not actually. Well, I'm not really a writer. We do write a lot of stuff together. It comes out under the Nankerfeld pseudonym, but Mick and Keith write more than any of us.
Mick and Keith are wonderful songwriters. I mean, they're just great. Extraordinary. I mean, I couldn't admire them more.
Writing the songs that you write, do you sometimes think that you have a special inspiration for the way that you...
Well, you better ask about writing songs. You know, better address those questions to Mick and Keith, because they'll tell you more about it.
Oh, and talk to Keith and to Mick.
Oh, yeah.
These are the two that are supposed to be all the writing talent. You fellas get together and do most of the writing, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, a lot of it. You know, some of it.
Do you have a particular inspiration for some of your songs that seem to springboard them out?
Well, I don't know. Ask Keith. I don't really think so. No, it just happens. It just happens.
This divide was worsened by his growing unreliability, a result of his disillusionment and increasing drug use. Unable to contribute his own songs, he found joy in enhancing Mick and Keith's compositions beyond traditional guitar melodies.
They tended to write more about sex. So from 64, 84, like for 20 years, they were just turning them out. I mean, they're classic rock and roll songs. I'd rate it as extraordinary.
Mick ruled the roost as far as what they were going to play and the fact that he could write music and Brian couldn't. I think there may have been a little jealousy there. The fact that Mick and Keith were so close.
See, the trouble was, by 1963, when Mick and Keith were writing songs and all that, Andrew was trying to promote Keith and kind of dismiss Brian, get Brian out of the way. And so what he did was he stopped me, Charlie and Brian from doing any interviews with any of the newspapers, any interviews at all, and gave them all to Mick and Keith.
It was very nice. Brian was a very nice guy. Brian was really nervous that night because he's walking in on a Beatles session. And I kind of thought he'd bring a guitar, you know, but no, he brought his saxophone. He was nervous to the point of sort of shaking a little bit. And he was like a ropey sax player. So I thought, aha, we've got just the tune. It was very nice. Brian was a very nice guy.
Already skilled in playing the saxophone, Brian expanded the musical palette of Aftermath with instruments like dulcineas, marimbas, kotos, and, notably, the sitar for Paint It Black.
I see a red door and I want it painted black.
He was doing all that stuff without asking even. He'd pick up a flute or just anything that was handy and just create something out of it which wasn't there originally, and it embellished the song so much that it became the catch.
While the sun is bright, or in the darkest night, no one knows.
Can you hear him?
She comes and goes.
I only saw him, and heard him. The sound was what I was connecting to, and it was the harmonica and the slide guitar.
He just finds a flute and he finds a little thing he can play on it.
First time I'd ever heard that kind of music or felt that kind of feeling, it was just amazing. Yeah, a whole new feeling came over me that I'd never felt before.
Or in the darkest night, no one knows.
In December 1965, Brian had been inspired by George Harrison's sitar playing on Norwegian wood from the Beatles' Rubber Soul album.
We talked until 2, and then she said, it's time for bed.
Norwegian Wood was the first song that ever had a sitar on it, and it wasn't a casual throwaway like George implies in his book. It was, I asked him, can you play this lick on the sitar? And he took 20 minutes or half an hour to get the lick down.
So I lit a fire, isn't it good? Norwegian Wood.
During the Stones' initial sessions for Aftermath at RCA Studios, their pianist and road manager Ian Stewart managed to get Brian his own sitar. Soon after, a fortuitous encounter with sitar virtuoso Harihar Rao led Brian to become his student. I met him in a club in New York, Brian recalled. Hari taught me how to play the sitar. He studied under Ravi Shankar for 12 years, yet he still considers himself a student. These people dedicate their lives to the instrument.
I see a red door and I want it painted black.
While Brian hadn't mastered the sitar, he recognized its potential within the Stones' music. I love the instrument, he said. It offers a new range if you incorporate it into your music. It operates on completely different principles from the guitar and opens up new possibilities for a group in terms of harmonics and everything. As the Stones explored the Eastern influences in Paint It Black, Brian skillfully used the sitar, playing the vocal melody in the verses and providing the song with its distinctive and ominous intro riff. Oldham remarked, "It was more than just decoration. Sometimes Brian was the glue that held the whole record together." With this ominous backdrop, Mick Jagger's words, which might have felt too somber for a typical pop tune, take on a poignant relevance. The song delves into the pain of loss and the overwhelming sadness that accompanies it. In the lyrics, Mick portrays a sense of profound loss, unable to accept that life must continue without his lover. His grief clouds his ability to see the vibrant colors around him. I want them to turn black.
No colors anymore, I want them to turn black.
And he can't bring himself to focus on anyone else in his current state. I have to turn my head, he sings, until my darkness goes.
I have to turn my head until my darkness goes.
Much like the relentless pounding of Charlie Watts' drums, there's little relief in Mick's sorrow. and as the song progresses, he appears to sink deeper into his anguish. It's not easy facing up, he mourns, when your whole world is black. Paint It Black hit the shelves a month after Aftermath, making its debut on May 7th in the US and on the 13th in the UK, quickly rising to the top of the charts in both countries. It would be another 2 years before the Rolling Stones would celebrate another #1 single.
I see my red door, I must have it painted black.
During this time, the impact of Paint It Black reverberated in various ways. Despite the label crediting Jagger Richards, the band felt that the song's evolution was a collaborative effort, which left them somewhat unsettled. However, it was Brian who became the face of Paint It Black, especially in the United States. When the band performed the song live on The Ed Sullivan Show that September, Brian, seated cross-legged, stood out from the rest of the group, dressed in white, his golden hair shining as he played the sitar. To many Americans, he embodied the Stones' groundbreaking exploration into psychedelic pop. Meanwhile, in Vietnam, the ominous energy of Paint It Black resonated with American troops, who found solace in its implicit rage and despair while enduring the horrors of war. With its pounding drums and eerie sitar, Paint It Black captured a sense of impending danger, serving as a chilling warning of impending doom. Its vivid expressiveness has been effectively used in film, notably in the closing scenes of Stanley Kubrick's intense Vietnam drama, Full Metal Jacket.
I see a red door and I want it painted black.
Keith acknowledged, "It's definitely unlike anything else." Distorted and unsettling, Paint It Black could be considered the auditory equivalent of a bad trip during the era of widespread experimentation with psychedelics. Mick Jagger reflected, "That was the time of lots of acid. It's like the dawn of melancholic psychedelia. That's what the Rolling Stones initiated. Perhaps we should have a revival of that."
I see a red door and I want to paint it black. No colors anymore, I want them to turn black. I see the girls walk by, just in their summer clothes.
Thanks for watching. Until then, rock on and keep it rolling.
Don't get angry with me.
He don't know if it's right or wrong. Maybe he should tell someone. He's not sure just what it was, or if it's against the law. Something